Okay, so before we go into the discussion of how the three dimension, which is not real, but we can introduce them as cause or frame of reference for different to explain different actions, uh, we 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 will go through the facts, which is not introduced by us, but which are actually facts. So to show or to go through those facts, let's just discuss this slide. So we can see that we have different animals, including me and these two children. We have the dogs, the cow, the chicken, and there is a tree. So the facts here is we all take birth, we then grow up, and we perish, right? These are the common facts for all the beings which are shown here, and we all feel pain. We go through suffering if someone tortures us physically, and we are always afraid of losing life. If I mean, it's embedded in our consciousness. If something bad is going to happen, all of us will run or will try to protect us, right? And there is another thing which is mostly human beings are equipped with is the power of thinking, the power of imagining, right? Whatever we can think is in our imaginations. It has no connection with the real world or the real existence. By seeing or by looking at any action, we want to explain it, and any explanation is bound to be false because that is our explanation. It has nothing to do with the reality. It is introduced by our thoughts that maybe this is happening, and to explain that, we introduces imagined frame of references, and one of them is the three dimension that we are going to see how we can impose or how it is false. So yeah, so let's go to the next slide then to actually go through the falsity of three dimension. So when we take birth, so let's consider the human beings because they are mostly equipped with the capability of imagining than the higher capability than the rest of the other animals. So let's just think about us, how we feel after taking birth. So most of us, after taking birth, after growing up to a certain age, we inquire about different objects that we see. We think that those are objects based on, I mean, we are helpless but to objectify any actions based on diverse colors, tastes, touch, sensations, the sounds, different sounds, smells, and we objectify each phenomena or each actions which are distinct by mostly by color, and then comes the touch sensation, and also our parents and the society or the schooling system, they tells us that this is this object, this is that object. So we 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 believe their concepts or their explanations, and also we take them as a tool to create more interactions with the surroundings, to gather more information which we can use as a tool for future actions, right? And that's okay, there is no problem with that. But the thing that we have to know is that those explanations are all introduced by us. One cannot know what an object is because the very concept of object is a false identity. What we can see is action. Any attempt to explain that action is false. But the humans has the special power to project any explanation he wants, right? But that's good, because if we don't introduce the imagination or our falsity, we won't be able to know that this is false. You see, if we don't introduce or if we don't bring any falsity, or if we don't know what is false, we won't be able to know what is truth. I mean, truth is unknowable, but the very capability of knowing this is imaginary introduced by us reveals that there is something higher reality than what we believed so far, right? as as a pen, as this object, as that object. So we have more possibilities to know something which is a higher level of reality. So that's the most important thing to know, that the explanations are introduced by us for serving some purposes, and they are bound to be false anyway. So since we have the urge to know everything, there are few people, or few men who actually, or women, they try to explain the phenomena that is going on. And since our sense organs are mostly outbound, that is, we perceive the color, touch, smell, sound, etc. in the waking state, we always try to explain the outside phenomena first. That this is sun, this is moon, this is that, this is that. And after some time, we gather enough information, then we come to our body, that this is the mechanism of how our body works. But this is the same object. Our body is in objective level, our body is same like this pen or any other object, because all of them are object to our sense organs. Our eyes, the nervous system, or the brain, or the spinal cord, they are not the sense organs, because they are constantly engaged in action with the surroundings. So anything that is acting is action itself. And any action, by the very definition, or by the very proof of the uh, uh, by the very proof of our observability, they are ever changing. If something is not changing, it's not an action. So if something is ever changing, it cannot produce the knowability, because the knowability has to be always unchanged, so that he can notice the ever changing action, right? So ever changing action cannot produce something which is unchanged. So consciousness is completely different aspect, which can know the action, but the action cannot know consciousness, or the action cannot produce the consciousness. So forget about creating consciousness, right? By material cause. Anyway, so so to explain the universe, or to explain certain phenomena, we introduce different cause, different model of frames, different models of frame of references. So all those things we introduce to explain certain phenomena, like the three dimension. We don't see any three dimension in reality, that is inside our head, or inside any book which is written by us. So those are all explanations, right? We create our thoughts, and we project that this is how it should be, this is how that should be. But those explanations has nothing to do with the actual reality, because what we see is action, and action is, by the very definition, it cannot be explained. Any explanation is bound to be false, because any explanation will introduce uh, causes as as introduced concepts, and those are concepts provided by us. So there is no way we can explain any actions. So one of those cause, or one of those frame of reference, is the three dimension, that we are going to see how it is false, but it is useful. Useful in what sense, that we also will see. So yeah, the thing that we just discussed, all explanations are bound to be false, because they are introduced by us, uh, right? Another interesting example is to explain any action. We bring the concept of energy, and we think that the energy is interacting with an object, producing colors, sounds, etc. So the object, we will never know what the object is, because we perceive only the actions through our sense organs, or through any instrument. And we think that there is a cause called energy, that is also unknowable. The object is unknowable, the energy is unknowable. We can only know by observing the action. I mean, we can only observe the action, we can never know the action also, because to know it, we have to introduce causes. You see the complexity of this thing. So in that process of knowing what we do, we unknowingly introduce our own thoughts, our own imaginations to describe it. And that's going on with all of us. That's the most important thing to realize, and that's the only thing that will make us something that we should discover by ourselves. But anyway, so all explanations has to be false. And again, these are the facts that we take birth, we grow up, and then we perish. We all suffer. uh, we all suffer the physical pain, etc. That those are the facts. I mean, you cannot escape those facts. But these facts can be easily, I mean, this falsity of three dimension or falsity of any explanation can be proved by instantly, because those are introduced. But this pain, this suffering, this this taking birth, then grow or then perish is a fact, right? I mean, we term them as growing up or death or birth, but those are the actions that is happening with me, that is happening with these dogs, that is happening with these poor kids. There is no denial of that. I mean, you can explain whatever explanation, but those are happening with me as well as with all the other beings, right? That's the main point. Okay, so next, go to the next slide. So before we go to the falsity of three dimension, we need to go through another fact, that is the continuity. So what we see here is a solid form of water, that is ice. If we provide energy, that will convert into liquid. What we are providing, we don't know. We call it as energy. We can use heat by lighting up any fire, and we think that we are providing something which is melting the solid water to produce liquid water, but we don't know what we are providing, and we call it as energy, right? We perform some action to transfer some entity into another action, which is called as solid ice, and during that process the solid converted into liquid. And in the whole process, definitely there is something is going from an action to another action, and that is creating another action, which is liquid. And we think that the cause of this change of states is because of the energy, right? Because we are helpless but to perceive the hotness or coldness of different actions. So we termed it as thermal energy. We will never know what thermal energy is, but we can perceive the sense perceptions. This is very subtle and very easy as well. I mean, these are facts. These are not something that I'm explaining or giving you as a burden of false knowledge. These are facts that you can verify if we just pay attention. So, so the solid ice is getting converted into liquid water. Then if we provide some more energy, I'm using the term energy because we are familiar with it. So another interesting thing, we have to use a false concept to prove its falsity. Otherwise it's impossible to know a false item if the item is not present, right? So we know that energy is unknowable, but we call it as energy. Otherwise we are helpless but to but to deal with our lower level of reality. We all are in the lower level of reality. We projected our explanations. We talk, or we say that this is this is that, but those are all our explanation. But those are helpful to know who we are. That's the most important thing, to know who we are. And until we know who we are, we will create this imaginary world of ours, and we will be miserable. I mean, we will be in constant pain and suffering. There is no way we can escape it. Those are different topics that will come, but let's go through this first. So we put energy, then it forms the vapor or the gaseous. I mean, if there is sufficient energy, this cloud of water will eventually turn into clear water molecules, and they will disperse in the air. which is definitely the gaseous state of the water, and further energy will create the plasma, which is the atomic form of the hydrogen, the the oxygen atom and the hydrogen atom. They will break apart from the water molecule, and due to the excess energy, this will go into the both of them will go into the atomic absorption spectroscopy. I mean, spectroscopy is a phenomenon that we use in the laboratory, but this is what is happening is the atomic hydrogen or oxygen will absorb energy, the excess energy. They will get excited, and then again they will come down to the relaxed ground state, and they will emit energy. And this process is actually responsible for the color of the flame during any burning process. And the color of a flame or the color of the sun, on the surface of the sun we see the yellow color. The state is same. The atoms are absorbing the energy and they're emitting the energy while coming down to the ground state. Again, these are explanations given by us, but we need to use those explanations in order to know that all those explanations are false. You got the point? Okay, so let's go to the next step, which is further. If we increase energy, then the atoms will then be ripped apart from their state to produce electrons, subatomic particles. And even further, if we increase the energy, there will be something that is unknowable by our, either by our sense organs or any uh, instrument that we have developed so far. So there will be no point in future when the people will know and what the constituents of a matter is, because the very concept of matter is superimposed by us as an explanation. And we will break the atoms, the subatomic particles, to quarks, to all kinds of ideas or explanations. But that's okay, we can use them for good or bad. That is another interesting thing that we will discuss in these slides. So, after we don't have our capability to perceive the actions that is produced by increasing the energy sufficiently, we will have the space. That's the important thing to remember. So space is mostly the energy. The space is something that is having energy mostly, which is unknowable by us, because we introduce the concept as energy to explain certain phenomena. But we definitely know that we are increasing that unknowable entity to bring the solid ice to the liquid, to the gas, to the plasma, and then finally to the space. So there will be nothing to observe, but there will be the energy itself, right? In the ultimate sense, there will be only energy. So space is nothing but energy. I mean, energy is a introduced concept. I'm saying it again, but in space, it is something that we cannot know. So we are calling it as energy. It can be energy, or it can be object, or it can be consciousness. We don't know what it is. So right now we are just following the fact that we increased the energy, and finally there is space. So there has to be energy, right? Yeah, so there has to be energy, and we are following the facts. Okay. Yeah, so these are the facts. So one thing to notice, that the solid is getting converted into liquid. So there is a continuum, right? If there is no continuity, it cannot be converted into the liquid. To go from solid to liquid, there has to be continuity. Otherwise, it cannot proceed. It cannot go. It cannot go from one action to another action. You see what I mean? Just just observe it. If something is changing into something else, that means the continuity is there. If the continuity is not there, the change is impossible, right? Be factually correct, be logically correct. It's your thing. I mean, you have to deal with these things, very subtle these are. So Solid is changing into liquid, liquid is changing into gas, gas is changing into plasma, plasma is changing into space. So all these five states has to be continuous. There has to be continuity, otherwise there will be no change at all. Facts, no assumption, pure fact. And this is called basically continuity. So this is a fact that we should observe, but most of the time we ignore it because we are engaged in our own thoughts or own goals in our life. That's okay. Then comes the next slide. So this is a picture where pumpkins of different sizes are present, and also there is the bricks, the wall, the other stuff is also present. So there is a diverse objects are present. We are calling it as object. Let's see how the things is working here. So we just saw that there is a continuity in solid to liquid to gas to plasma to space, right? So this is for more philosophical or who are from scientific background. They will know that what I'm trying to say. Even the people who has little bit of scientific background, they will know what I'm trying to say. But let's say this thing is not required. I mean, this thing is not working for some people. Then we can compare it like that everything takes birth. I mean, we born, we then grow up, then we perish, right? So this is also has to be a continuum. Growing up and the taking birth and getting perished. These three are actions, and this has to be connected. If it is connected, that means it's a whole continuum, right? And then after perishing, the materials of the body will be transformed into something else. It's not gonna be vanished completely. The objects, the solid, liquid, gas, space, they will be transformed into something else, some other actions. So this is also continuum, and those will be used for maybe some other bodies, right? For some insects will eat them for their own good. So this is also fact. I mean, there is only continuity. There is no discrete event. Each event is transformed into some other event, and if one event is getting transformed into some other event, it has to be connected. And if there is any connection, it is continuous process. If it is continuous, then there is a continuity. There is no gap. We call there is space as a gap, but space is the very fundamental principle objects by which the whole universe is made. Space, plasma, gas, liquid, and solid. These five are the five objects that the whole universe is made of, right? And we just saw that space is not nothingness. It has energy in it, a lot of energy. I mean, space is only energy if we go more absolute sense, right? So this is fact. And then so this explanation is for us, but for these objects, the same explanation is also true. So they took birth from, I mean, they formed from the tree or the plants. They grow up by getting the nutrients from the roots or from the surroundings, the soil, everything through the plant. They grew up in a certain size, and after a few days they will rot. They will start rotting if someone is not consuming them as food. So they will disintegrate. So they take birth, they grow up, then they perish, and the objects from forms other shapes like different rotten parts or I mean, it will eventually be transformed into something else, right? You see what I'm trying to say? You see what I mean? So there is a continuity in everything. Each action is followed by another action, and there is no gap. Make this observation, please, very important. This is, if you observe this thing, your whole problem will be solved. We are in deep problem, trust me. We don't know we are in problem. Okay, so the continuity is there. So if we try to see this continuity in through another explanation, we can also understand what continuity is. So that is the previous slides basically discussed in terms of action, uh, in terms of change from solid to liquid to gas, etc., from birth to growth to death, etc. So now here, through color, I mean, what I'm gonna show you, this bar, this straight line in yellow color. So this is a continuum. This is representing a continuum, right? From left to right, this is a single straight line, and it is continuum. This is because it is connected. Now tell me, this black background and this yellow straight line, are they connected or not? They are connected, and if they are connected, there is continuum. But we are helpless to assign them as different colors, right? This is what is going on in the whole universe. This is magic, pure magic. There is a term which is called Maya in Indian philosophy. And this is what is Maya. So there is continuity. I mean, this word continuity, this underline that I just drew, the black background, this yellow straight line, they are all connected. It's not like there is a gap. They are all connected, and that's called continuity. Your hand, the air, the space, I mean, all five objects are interconnected. And if there is connection, that means there is continuity. But we are not aware of this observation. I mean, the observation is in front of our eyes, but we are not seeing it as it is, right? And that's why the main all sorts of problems are arising. Let's see. I mean, let's go just step by step. Forget about the problems right now. Just take this journey as an exciting exploration. Okay. Another example is the rainbow. If you see carefully, these colors from blue to red, they are also connected. It's not like there is blue, then there is a gap, and then there is another color, then there is a gap, then there is another color. If there is a gap, that gap will be also be perceived by our sense organs. And if that is perceived, that is not a gap. See, everything is connected. So if everything is connected, that means there is continuity throughout the universe. And if there is continuity, then what is happening? I mean, why we are assigning them differently based on our different sense perceptions? I mean, right now I'm just telling you the perception of the organ of vision, but I can go through the organ of hearing, the organ of touching, tasting, smelling. We will go through that, but right now just focus into the organ of vision, because otherwise the video will be very long. So I will come to those sense organs as well. This is the most interesting discussions. So okay, so we see that the rainbow, the background, the sky, the clouds, the color, they are all interconnected. Just focus on the color, forget about the shapes that they are flying or something. Go through the facts. We have a lot of crap in our mind. Don't consider them, just go through the fact, the observation as it is. There is no gap between any color. That's a fact. Okay, next come in a much more larger scale. So this is a spiral galaxy. So you can see all the stars, the center of the galaxy, the space, they are all connected because they are composed of five principal objects: solid, liquid, gas, fire, plasma, and the space. And they has to be interconnected, right? There is continuous, but we are helpless to to feel this difference based on the sense perceptions. So why that difference is there at all? Because that difference has to be there to know there is difference. You see, the feeling of difference has to be there in order to know that there is no difference. if there is no feeling of difference, a wrong feeling, a feeling is an imagination or concept. What is real, feeling is something else. So that feeling, that falseness has to be there to know that it is false. If the false is not there, the truth won't be revealed. You see what I mean? So uh, this perception of discontinuity is actually a blessing for us to know that there is no discontinuity. Just if we pay attention, we will be able to observe by our own. So this is the organ of vision part. We will go through the organ of other sense organs, right? So this is continuity in terms of organ of vision. Then based on different colors, as we just discussed, through organ of vision, and then there is sound, taste, touch, and smell. Based on these, we have different actions here, which are not different because they are already interconnected. As we just discussed, there is continuity, only continuity, but there is different perceptions, which is actually good for us. It's not different, but we feel it different, and that feeling is necessary to know who we are. Okay, so there is these four pumpkins with the wall, bricks, etc. Now, what we feel that they are different in size, right? Forget about their biology or chemistry or physics. Immediately after looking at the objects, the actions, whatever, the sense perception, we observe there is a difference that we don't observe. We observe only color, sound, taste, touch, and smell, right? But we have a feeling that they are different. Make this distinction very carefully. What we observe is not different sizes. We observe the color, the sound, taste, touch, and smell. The comparison, or this is big, this is small, that is going inside our mind. What is mind, that we will discuss later. But right now, that we don't see the sizes. What we see is color, sound, taste, touch, and smell. The comparison thing is going on inside us, right? And based on different size, we say that this is a bigger one, this is a smaller one, and we give certain names to different objects, like this is a brick, this is a pumpkin, this is straw, like that. And as we just discussed, the first comparison is the size of different objects. And then to to objectify, or to take note of the whole process of comparison, so that we can utilize this knowledge, or this falsity, whatever you can say it, in creating other stuff. So let's say we want to create this pen, so we have to use the concept of comparison, right? There is no way that there is discontinuity that we just saw, but we think that we can create something. We are creating something which is false. Also, it is not false. This is true in the lower level of reality. In higher level of reality, it's false, because there cannot be any discontinuity, and there cannot be this object distinct or isolated from all the other surroundings. This is very subtle thing, but this is fact. If you just look at it, you will understand what I'm trying to say. So we introduced the three dimension, right? And the introduction of three dimension is basically to make this comparison in more scientific way, uh, and to measure different sizes by using the concept of length, width, height, etc. And this is not a fact like this three dimension is not a fact like taking birth, then grow, then perish. This is a universal fact that is going on with all of us. But this three dimension is not a fact for let's say for other animals. This three dimension is crucial for us to create things that we believe we are creating, right? Okay. So this error of comparison is actually coming with us. It's not like we take birth and then we learn to compare. Oh, this is bigger, this is smaller. Don't, nobody says us. We know that this is my hand, the finger I have to put in my mouth to make me happy after taking birth, of course. Not now. But those sense perceptions, and based on sense perceptions, different objectifications, those knowledge is already there within us. How that is happening, that is deep, that will come later, but right now focus on the present topic. So this error is already coming with us, and the very reason of the presence of this error is to that error. If we know that as an error, then we will know who we are. If the error is not present, it's impossible to know who we are, because that we need false to know that it is false. And during the observation process, the indication will be given to us that which is truth. Truth is unknowable. What we can know is only the errors, the explanations, all sorts of things. Anything that is knowable is not truth. Truth cannot be known or explained, right? It cannot be explained. Okay. So the exactly, the knowing the error can only free us from suffering. I mean, forget about truth and all those higher things. If we just know that about the continuity, and also the impossibility of discontinuity, and also the falsity of any explanations, and the falsity of any introduced frame of reference to explain certain actions. If we just see the process of explaining anything, or process of objectifying anything, then we will be in the very good position. I mean, that is the first step, and that is the last step. The evolution within us will continue, and it's ever evolving, it's never old, that and that's it. It's not like that. The joy, or the self knowledge, is ever evolving, and this is the most beautiful thing. Anyway, yeah, so also to know the error must be present. I mean, the error must be present inside us, not actually in the reality, because there is no error in the reality. The reality is error free. It is ever perfect. But we think that there is error because that error is within us. So we need to see what's going on. So the presence of error is there, and when we know the error, then the error is no more. That's another magic. Okay. So then comes the concept of three dimension, that these are the three axes of the coordinate system. So like that, we can create any coordinate system we want. So this is Cartesian coordinate system. We can have polar coordinate system, etc., etc. So another important thing is that, let's say we have a point here, this point. So let's say in this particular point, I am sitting right now. So if we just stand up, and if I go, then the place will be not vacant, right? The air will come in that place. I can put a chair in that place. I can go, and then I can put any object that I want in that particular place. But that is impossible, right? If there is any three dimension in reality, each point will be different. This point will be different than this one. This point will be different than this one. And one point will correspond to a particular action or object. But that's not the case, right? In any point, we can bring anything we want. Right now, this hand is here, then it's not there. There is air molecule, then there is space. I can bring anything I want. So this is a concept that we understand. The three dimension is a concept. Some of us will say that what's the big deal? It's a concept. No, this is a big deal. Like this three dimension, everything that we perceive is our concepts only. All of these things that we perceive is concepts only. We don't even know what observing is. So we have to unlearn everything. And that doesn't mean that you will go blank. That's a beginning of knowing the real knowledge. Anyway, so this is another aspect that uh, what if there is any three dimension, then the points has to be different, but it's not. So three dimension is introduced. That is also clear now, right? Uh, and also any explanation which is based on three dimension, it doesn't matter what important or what significant explanation it is, it's false ruthlessly. I would say it's false, and if any sensible person will look at it, they will say it's false. But what's the purpose of discussing like this? The purpose is that, I mean, if we know that this is false, and after knowing we are constantly engaged in explaining everything, that I can explain everything, then we will be in a universe of falseness, right? We will be in a universe which is completely false, believed or imaginary illusion, whatever you say. That's not desirable, right? That's not desirable. And also our uh, false or imaginary concepts and ever never stopping urge to explain everything is creating a very torture to other animals. I mean, you know what I mean. So we should focus that there has to be science, or there has to be false explanations or false causes, whatever, but those has to be some purpose. We are using the false for some purpose. I mean, you see, we okay, in the next slide I will discuss what I'm trying to say. So all those measurements are going in our thought. It has nothing to deal in the real existence, right? Because there is only continuity, there is no discreteness. We are creating discreteness based on our sense organs, sense perceptions. And to objectify any discrete action, we bring the concept of three dimension. Also, since everything is ever changing, I mean, all the actions are ever changing, there cannot be a single point where any length will be fixed. Let's consider this is a length. It won't be fixed for any object, because the surrounding or any object are taking birth, then growing, and then decaying or perishing, right? And through this process, it's ever changing. An action is ever changing. That's why it's an action. So there won't be any specific length which is there for a single second or single moment. You have to observe it. So it's basically impossible to explain anything, but we can use our explanations, which seems to be really false, but we can use for what purpose? So once we know that all the explanations are basically false, but our pain, our pain or our suffering, those things are not false, right? The pain, the suffering. We take birth, then we grow, then we perish. If we torture some other animals, they will feel the pain. So we know from the very from the very core of us that we have the the same urge to live, to know who we are, knowingly or unknowingly. And the humans are equipped with the power of projecting the different explanations. So if the human being is equipped with this precious ability, then what should be the purpose of the human being? To take care of the other animals, right? I mean, we are not supposed to make device which will kill maybe millions of cows or chickens or whatever the hell we want to eat in seconds. But we can try to save lives of the wild animals or poor children maybe who are suffering because of our desire, uh, because everything is related. What I'm doing right now will influence some others. So if we use our false explanations in a better way, that can help some other human being to know the falsity, right? And that's the purpose of all knowledges or all informations, let's say, to actually help others and to know the reality, to know who we are.